And then finally, stress. And so uncontrolled excessive stress can cause chronic release of cortisol, that stress hormone that I talked about earlier. And so when we have chronic uncontrolled release of cortisol, this can impact insulin and blood sugar regulation. And it can also increase food cravings, not only because of insulin and blood sugar regulation, but because of stress eating as well. And again, that tendency for the emotional eating. And of course, the holiday season can tend to be a lot more stressful. So it's important to be aware of this and find ways to modulate stress. Now, we can have, a certain amount of stress can be beneficial. We have eustress and distress. And eustress is a little bit of stress that helps to keep us motivated in life and to persevere and move forward and advance in life. However, if that stress becomes too much for you to handle, if it becomes overwhelming, if it creates feelings of anxiety or discomfort, this is where it starts to become distress. And it's this distress over and over again, which will stimulate that negative production of those stress hormones. And it's going to cause a lot of negative effects on the body, including hormones, inflammation, and so much more. So awareness is always, as I always say, awareness is the first step to making positive change. The more that you can be aware of what your stress levels are, is it eustress? Is it distress? How is your body responding to this stress? How are you coping with this stress? And what is the implication in your life in terms of how you're dealing? First of all, how are you dealing with this stress? Some people will find positive ways to manage stress. Maybe they will go for a walk or play with the kids or take themselves out of the situation to take a breather. Some people will do things like eat or go shopping or use drugs or alcohol to modulate or manage the stress, and that can be destructive. So it's really important to be aware, first of all, of what your stress levels are, how you're handling that stress, and what you're doing to manage that stress. And so it can be really important to find time to make sure that your needs are taken care of, especially during the holiday season. It can be a time where there's so many commitments and engagements that we might feel that we don't have the time to make sure that our own needs are taken care of. And so there is a link below this video of a YouTube video that I've recently posted on this topic that can help to shift your perception a bit in terms of that. And so say, for example, when you're on an airplane and the flight attendant says, okay, in case of an emergency, oxygen masks are going to drop from the ceiling. Make sure you put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you start helping other people. And the reason for that is because you don't have a lot of time. If you lose cabin pressure, you might pass out quite quickly. And if you're busy helping everybody else around you and you haven't put the oxygen mask on yourself first, you can pass out before you can actually have the time to make sure that you're taken care of. And there's no guarantee that anyone is actually going to be conscious or around to be able to take care of you. But if you make sure that your oxygen mask is on and secure first, then you're going to be more likely to have the consciousness and capability to help other people around you and do what you want to and do what you need to. And the same goes with life. If you make sure that you're taken care of first before you start helping everybody else around you, then you'll have the energy and the capability to take care of others without burning out. And so a couple of tips to help with that: take breaks and timeouts. A lot of people think that they don't have time for breaks because they have so much to do. But studies actually show that if you take regular breaks, you'll actually be more productive than if you don't take any breaks at all. So taking time out to take regular breaks can really help with that productivity, and it can help to support refreshing yourself so that when you go back, you go back to your task with more clarity, and it can certainly help with stress management. It can be optimal to take 5 minutes every 25 minutes. But if you can't manage that, taking a 10-minute break every hour is the optimal. And so removing yourself from a stressful situation when you take your break can be extremely helpful. Doing things like deep breathing, going for a walk, 10 minutes in nature has been scientifically proven to help to reduce cortisol levels. So if you can manage to go for regular little walks out in nature during the day, that can be really effective as a way to help support stress management. Ask for help or delegate. So ask for help with tasks or delegate tasks to others so you don't feel like you have so much on your plate. And that can be really helpful to manage stress, especially during the busy holiday season. And say no if you need to. So a lot of times we feel obligated to commit ourselves to things. Yeah. We can feel like I'm sorry, my train of thought just went somewhere. We often feel obligated to do things where we might put ourselves out there in ways where it's just too much. And, if it's safe to say no, if other people's safety aren't involved in terms of, an obligation, and you feel that it's too much for you, don't feel afraid to say no. Even if you know that other person might feel put off or not happy with you, they'll get over it and they'll find another solution. And so if you need to say no, don't feel bad about that. If it means that it's going to help to keep your sanity and help you to manage your stress so that you're not going to burn out during the holiday season. And as I mentioned, time in nature, even 10 minutes in nature is going to help to control stress. So find a park, find a place where you can go for a little walk, find some sounds of birds outside. These are all really great things that can help to support minimizing the production of that stress hormone.